New information: this severe considerable destructive thunderstorm warning has been updated. New information: this severe thunderstorm warning has been updated. A new considerable destructive thunderstorm warning has been issued. New information: this severe thunderstorm warning has been updated. A new severe thunderstorm warning has been issued. 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 New information, this severe thunderstorm warning has been updated. New information, this severe thunderstorm warning has been updated.
All right. Cool. All right, we've been on for a couple minutes, but doing some background stuff and testing a couple things here in the background end. So kind of keeping an eye on things as I was around the studio. We had a tornado warning earlier on Lancaster in Ohio, but storms have been kind of marginally severe across this area. We've had in the last couple minutes a little bit of an intensification, considerable threat, severe thunderstorm around Cambridge Center and Londonderry, Ohio. And then we have one of our cameras is starting to get dark. The camera above me right now, the West Virginia camera. This is at Wheeling, West Virginia. And that is right about here.
A new severe thunderstorm warning has
so
been
starting
issued.
to get likely a little bit cloudier. The overshooting top of the severe thunderstorm to your west. Newly severe warned storm. That's around Barnesville, Ohio, Bethesda, and St. Clairsville. Once it gets up here, this is I-70, a little bit more populated area from St. Clairsville into Wheeling. And then we'll continue to kind of ride those storms all the way into the areas southwest of Pittsburgh around Washington,
Warning,
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
A new special marine warning has been issued.
This was also an interesting cell. It at times looked like it was trying to rotate. Yeah, like back in here near Salineville, Ohio, and Summitville. We do have a storm report, number of trees and power lines down. So that is a pretty nasty cell. It didn't, at least on radar, it didn't look like it had organized a low-level central area of rotation, but it could have briefly, so that could be wind damage or tornado damage.
This severe thunderstorm
from a brief spin-up. But then the last couple scans, it hasn't looked as healthy coming across West Point, Ohio, and now crossing into areas here around East Palestine, Ohio, and then into areas around Big Beaver, Elwood City, Elport, and areas here north and west of the Pittsburgh area, Zelienople, Pottersville, and west of Butler coming up on this cell. It's a little bit of a mini supercell, so we do have to kind of watch it. Yeah, at times it tried to clear out its little inflow channel, but it's struggling a little bit. You can see here we do have a tornado watch that is covering this area. Western New York, eastern and southern Ohio, western Pennsylvania, and northern West Virginia goes till 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. Few tornadoes are possible, scattered damaging winds up to 70, and isolated large hail up to 1.5 inches in diameter. The hail parameters, I don't know if we're going to get too much large hail out of these areas. Let me back it out, and we'll show you there are more opportunities for severe weather today. This is the best chance of a tornado is in this area here into Ohio and western Pennsylvania, southwest parts of New York, I guess. We do have another slight risk. It covers a large area from the lower Ohio Valley into the Tennessee Valley, Nashville getting storms right now, Florence about to get storms in Alabama. as well as the Tupelo area. And then also a couple severe storms today in southeast Arkansas and northeast parts of Louisiana. Keep your eye on some of these storms. Just a kind of a general severe thunderstorm right now. And then that slight risk extends all the way down into Texas. Down here, we could have a little bit more fuel for hailstorms. So down here, not as much of a wind risk, although there could be some wind. Not as much of a tornado risk. It's mostly going to be a hail threat later this afternoon into the evening. And you can see the tornado risk kind of stops here in the Arklatex and does ride up the Ohio Valley, the Tennessee Valley. And here is our Hatch tornado risk. We've talked about this a few times on the stream. The newest updates for the Storm Prediction Center started this week, Tuesday, I think it was. This week is kind of blurred all together. But essentially, they've divorced the hatching from the probability risks. So now, instead of having a 10% hatched as the minimum, you can essentially have a 2 and a 5% hatched. What this is saying is there's a low overall chance of a tornado, but the tornado or two that could occur in this area could be a significant EF2 plus kind of tornado. There's just enough kind of upper level vorticity. The low pressure track is tracking across the Great Lakes. Let's pull up the surface map. Yeah, across the Great Lakes, we have our low pressure, the main low pressure, and then there's a little bit of a secondary low. This is a little bit behind. The cold front is likely a little bit ahead of this. So fast forward everything forward. But everything else here is pretty much accurate. We have a kind of a surging warm front. That'll continue to lift a little bit and open up a little bit more activity for severe weather across western Pennsylvania. The one thing is it is cooler out here. So the Storm Prediction Center expects by early evening that once these storms kind of cross the Alleghenies and the Appalachians, they should kind of calm down a little bit. It's mostly in this warm sector where there's a little more instability, plus that upper level speed and directional shear. Further south, let's go look at our wind risk. Basically, the slight risks overall match up with the wind threat fairly reasonably, especially this northeast one. So wind risk potentially all the way down this line into eastern Texas. And then we'll pick up, it was a hatched. I just want to double check and make sure it still is. Yeah, hatched area for large hail. Some of this could be additional above 2 inches in diameter hail for some supercellular activity down to Laredo, Beeville, Victoria, San Antonio, Houston, Huntsville, Texas area. They have shrunk this a little bit over the last 24, 48 hours. I believe the other day the hatched hail risk covered like most of this area here. So it's been kind of whittled away a little bit, but still an area there where there's potential for some larger hail. And then all this does get pushed further to the south and east. There's a marginal risk still in the picture for tomorrow. There's been a couple updates here this morning with the Storm Prediction Center. A marginal risk also on Monday for the southern, kind of mid-south, mid-Mississippi Valley into the lower Mississippi Valley.
New information. This severe thunderstorm warning has been updated.
Let's clear out some of this here. And then, so we may have a day off tomorrow and Monday. Definitely follow WxCast live if we have any updates for live streams tomorrow or Monday. But Tuesday, looks like we're going to be back at it. A wide area here outlined by the Storm Prediction Center from the southern Great Lakes and the lower Ohio Valley all the way through the Ozarks and into the Red River Valley, all the way into central Texas, even the hill country of Texas. We'll get more data. We're by tomorrow starting to get a little bit of convective allowing models that'll start showing some hints of what's going on. So we'll get a better sense of those by tomorrow and especially Monday. And we also have a day 5 slight risk back into the Ohio Valley, the upper Ohio Valley, through actually all the Ohio Valley, and then down into the lower Mississippi Valley. So another day where we'll probably be live. That would be Wednesday. And then from there, things get a little questionable. May get a little bit of a break in the active period. All right, let's see.
New information, this severe thunderstorm warning has been updated.
Okay. A couple things verified last night. We did get some flooding, flash flooding across the Ozarks. So quite a bit of highways. Looks like those low water crossings in the Ozarks, even down into parts of central Arkansas, were affected. Still a lot of rain through the Ohio Valley, so continue to turn around, don't drown. And then overnight and early this morning, we did have a couple notable tornadoes really late at night, like 3 or 4 a.m. A couple injuries in north central Marion County. This was south of Linden in Texas. And then that same storm, I think, dropped a couple tornadoes, but essentially kind of came through the Arklatex, not into Texarkana, but the Arklatex region, and then dropped at least another tornado that had some notable damage around Willisville, Arkansas. Some injuries there. One injury, trailer destroyed with a barn. So a couple tornado reports last night, and I haven't seen any other ones. There was a tornado warning, I think, near Perryville, Missouri, early this morning, like 5 or 6 a.m., I want to say. But otherwise, it's been fairly quiet since we stopped the stream last night with tornadoes. And then there was that tornado warned storm earlier around Lancaster, Ohio. All right, spring allergies are in full season now, so let's back this up right in here. This is when it was tornado warned. This is actually from the tower radar. You can see it tighten up just briefly right in here around Lancaster, Ohio. So don't know if it touched down, but there was a little tornado warning. There was a little bit of an indication of a tornado vortex signature, a weak one, but that has moved on. Looks like a couple damage reports have come in. Trees blow down. We talked about that in our morning brief. You can go to our post section on YouTube and check out the morning brief. But areas here, even if there's not a lot of tornado warnings today, if you have a severe thunderstorm warning, and especially if it gets to be a considerable threat, you want to shelter very similar to a tornado, because there's a lot of wooded properties in this area, a lot of hilly terrain, and these considerable threat and even regular severe thunderstorms, 60, 70 mile an hour winds, can knock down trees, and those can be deadly on a wooded property. Let's continue to watch this storm. Some small hail coming through Elport up towards Pottersville, McConnell Mill State Park, and then over towards Prospect, Pennsylvania. This is a northern kind of suburbs of the Pittsburgh area. I'm continuing to watch this storm. It's kind of the lead storm. It may have a little bit better fuel to work with. Otherwise, we got a new updated warning. Morgan and Perry counties, some small hail. Getting a new severe thunderstorm warning here. This risk area today is not quite a one and done. You can kind of see there's already been a few storms out ahead. Those will go through as severe. Then there's going to be kind of this back.
New information. This severe
trying to form into a more of an
updated.
organized line. We'll see if it does, but kind of this back edge. Once that clears, then it's basically done.
A new severe thunderstorm warning has been issued.
So Columbus, the threat is over pretty much there. Anywhere really along, I think that's 71 up to Cleveland. Your threat for severe weather is done today. So Akron, Cleveland, not quite ready to call Youngstown yet, but Mansfield, Delaware, Ohio, Marion, Columbus, Dayton, and Cincinnati. You guys are all clear for severe weather today. And I'm just making sure I share this out to my social media. Make sure you share it out with your friends and family that are in this warning area and watch area. And we'll get through this together. A little bit of a area that hasn't seen a ton of severe weather yet this season into the upper Ohio Valley. Just last week, I feel like we were talking about some snow and ice in this area. So quite a quick transition from spring to, or from winter to spring. All right, let me just check thing down here. Still a lot of thunderstorms, but not a lot of severe storms right now. The one severe storm's $half size hail into the areas around Eudora, Arkansas, Lake Village, Parkdale. These storms here aren't going to be moving quite as fast. Yeah, they're just kind of bubbling up along the remnant boundary, which is going to increase, I think, the flood threat.
This severe thunderstorm warning has been updated.
This area here from Shreveport and the Arklatex up through northern Mississippi is going to receive a generous amount of rain, especially these storms aren't moving south that much. They're kind of training over the same area. So turn around, don't drown, some flooding rain, some tropical rain, as this boundary is going to kind of sag and kind of stall out along the Gulf Coast states. And that's why there's some messy weather in the forecast. Not a big severe weather outbreak, but just a boundary that's going to focus some of that moisture and add some lift across the basically I-20 corridor the next couple days. A few stronger storms here around Hammond, Louisiana, up towards now pushing up towards what is that? Tickfaw, Amite City, Kentwood is what I was thinking of. But yeah, southeast Louisiana, a couple stronger storms already there this morning or afternoon now. And then also keeping our eye on Shreveport area, a couple stronger storms there, special weather statement. And Florence are getting those stronger storms now. These are pushing through the Nashville area. Could have a little bit more severe activity up towards here. Some of these storms look a little bit more organized, although I'm not seeing a lot of wind in here. We haven't had any severe warnings for a while in the Tennessee area. Yeah, as kind of expected, it's mostly a wind threat. Tornado possible tag for this cell in southern parts of New York State. See a new warning coming in here. We'll get to that in just a minute. This is near the Jamestown area.
A new severe thunderstorm warning has been issued. New information, this severe thunderstorm warning has been updated. New information, this severe thunderstorm warning has been updated.
Couple updates there for some severe thunderstorms. This is not right at Jamestown. This is actually at Westfield, so we're just kind of off that storm. This area got a little bit of rain just a few minutes ago. I didn't see anything too severe on that camera, but watching this storm as it rotates a little bit here near Jamestown, there's a little bit of potential here that some lake interaction. There's a cool area along the lake. There's a little bit of an enhanced corridor that if we get a tornado, I think it may be kind of up in this area, northwest parts of Pennsylvania, kind of along and north of I-80, and then southwest parts of western New York. And the risk earlier, let me see if it still goes up that high. The risk earlier did include the Buffalo area. It does. There is a risk for Buffalo, although it looks like once this kind of clears, that may clear stuff out, this back edge of the precip so far. And then watching the storm around Pottersville, Prospect, Moraine State Park. Some hail is in this storm. I think a little bit more than an inch. Yeah, there's likely some small hail, inch to a $half size hail in that core. That's coming through Group's Christmas Tree Farm, and then approaching areas around Prospect, Pennsylvania. That appears to be the Butler County Fairgrounds out in this area. So pretty well-traveled highway west of Butler towards Newcastle. And then, yeah, watching this storm, this area around Carlton already had some severe weather earlier, but we're getting a decent amount of wind in here, potentially 60 to 70 mile an hour winds. Could be possible, especially where the higher precip is overlaid with those wind readings that we're looking at. So back here towards Leavittsville and the Leavittsville Lake, approaching areas around Hickory Grove. It could be a little bit of a corridor where you get some damaging winds, tree down, those sort of things, power lines. And especially in these wooded areas, these trees can take down the power lines pretty quickly. One place that keeps my attention a little bit is this camera has been shaking a few times. This is in Mississippi with some gusty winds. Those storms are coming in. This is near Vicksburg on US 82 at the Mississippi River. And then looking here down towards Bethesda, St. Clairsville, still seeing a area of wind in here. Not as much hail. That's approaching our camera at Wheeling, so we'll get a look at that storm in a few minutes. And then more severe storms down here by New Concord, Pleasant City, Eastern Ohio. Look at some reports here. Carroll, Ohio, 62 mile an hour wind report. Well, I think we're going to see a lot more damage like this with some random tree down, power lines down, those sort of reports.
Thunderstorm warning has been issued.
And let's see, new tornado possible, severe thunderstorm warning. This is going to extend out north and east of Jamestown, Conewengo, Little Valley, New Albion, just north of Great Valley, Ellicottville, and East Otto.
A new severe thunderstorm warning has been issued.
You can see it a little bit on the storm relative. There's a little bit of broad rotation in here. These are winds going towards the radar. The reds are going outbound away from the radar. So it's in this area just north of Jamestown. That's approaching Ellington. Yeah, Ellington, New York. And then over towards Little Valley, New Albion. That's a pretty nasty storm. That's one of our storms that has at least a little bit more consistent rotation on it.
New information. This severe thunderstorm warning has been updated.
This is another little mini supercell near Sugar Creek, one of the newer warnings. Yeah, there is rotation in here too.
New information. This severe thunderstorm warning
and these are in those areas that I think there could be a little bit of an enhanced area for a tornado or two. That would be coming up through Oil City, Titusville, and Tionesta. They've extended out our little hailstorm. Again, it says less than an inch in diameter, but I really think there's probably inch to inch and a quarter diameter hail in here, just by the look of the reflectivity, and also seeing that on the correlation coefficient. It means the reflectivity is not likely just overestimating the hail. I think there are some areas here, pockets of larger hail. Prospect over at Hickory Corner, up towards Muddy Creek, and then West Sunbury. And that's going to continue out towards Karnes City, Brady's Bend, and areas up towards Knox, Monroe, and Clarion. Keep an eye on that one in western Pennsylvania. New little thunder shower going up right over Pittsburgh. Keep an eye on that one. Getting a little bit loud, likely over in the downtown Pittsburgh area. Again, wind coming through Leavittsville, Carlton. Keep an eye on those storms. I think we got those covered decently okay. Looks like they just issued a new flash or flood warning. This is for the Scioto River at Piketon. 21 feet. You may have some river road areas that are covered up. Yeah, this area's gotten a decent amount of rain the last few days. Let's go back to Tennessee and just check these storms out. They are outflow dominant storms. not a could get some isolated wind, isolated hail, but not really a tornado threat. You can see that outflow boundary surging out ahead of the storms. And they're weakening as they come across the Nashville area. So these are on the downtrend, which is nice to see. Do have a new severe thunderstorm. This is in that cluster of storms that's lifting up now north, well north of Baton Rouge, but up along 55 towards Kentwood. And then new warning there, quarter-size hail, 60-mile-an-hour winds coming up to Gloucester in southwest parts of Mississippi. And we did get a new severe thunderstorm watch. So I want to take a look at that. So preliminary survey reports are coming in from some of the tornadoes that we saw yesterday. Union City, Michigan, the deadly tornado in Michigan yesterday. It looked violent on the videos. It's been at least, they have found already at least EF3 damage of at least 150 miles an hour. So that would put it kind of on the higher end of an EF3 that they've already found EF3 damage. So, and they also note here only a small portion of the possible track has been assessed. So there's no path length data, and sometimes you can get to the outer edge of the damage first. So that is not good that they're so far so quickly finding some really significant damage of, again, possibly a violent tornado. All right, let me get you the information on this new severe thunderstorm watch. This is going to be for northeast Louisiana and portions of Mississippi.
New information. This severe thunderstorm warning has been updated.
It covers basically where those clusters of storms are now and points south. It's effective until 9 p.m. Central Time, Saturday afternoon and evening from 1:15 Central. And isolated damaging wind gusts up to 60 miles an hour are possible. Isolated large hail, 1 inch in diameter possible. Does not list a tornado threat. Line of severe thunderstorms will continue to slowly progress southeastward with additional storm development ahead of that from northeast Louisiana into Mississippi. And yeah, wind damage is the primary threat. One of our lower end warnings or watches that we've had to deal with so far in the last couple days. So quite a bit of our watches lately have been more on the higher end side, warning of, potentially some destructive winds and large hail and strong tornadoes. This one is just basically warning of some severe thunderstorms in the area, which you do have to take seriously, but just it is nice that there's a little bit of a break in some of the higher end warnings. So look out of Jackson, Mississippi right now.
New information. This severe thunderstorm.
And we can see those clouds building. Nothing too ominous looking there yet, but you can see there's a decent amount of humidity in the air. The condensation level, the LCLs look pretty low, pretty typical for this time of year. Starting to get into spring season in the I-20 corridor. This is generally pointing towards those storms back around the Vicksburg area.
Has been updated.
So you can see the difference between out in front of those and then underneath the storms. A lot of storm coverage right now into Texas, but not a lot of severe coverage. I am watching these areas around Brackettville, Uvalde, and it looks like one of the weather stations out here is down, so that's going to be a little tough to see. But there does appear to be some hail cores potentially building between Brackettville and Uvalde and up towards Camp Wood. So keep an eye on this area east of Del Rio. That's going to be tricky without the radar coverage out there, but may get a severe warning or two out that way. And then we'll see what they do. They'll probably trim most of this watch out because most of this expires in another 2.5 hours, but the severe storms or the strong storms are already pushing through most of this watch area. Potentially some stronger storms into eastern parts of Kentucky as well. Keep an eye on some of those areas. Yeah, things were rocking and rolling across southern Ohio earlier today. Columbus, again, you guys are good to go for the rest of the day. Hey, this is an eastern Ohio into Pennsylvania issue and parts of New York. Take a little rotation showing around this area, around south of, say, Clairsville. This is probably one of our beefier storms right now, coming through Mechanicstown and approaching areas around Highlandtown. Yeah, 50-mile-an-hour forward progress. The storms up here are a little different than down towards the Gulf Coast states. The storms in here are going to be moving 50, 60 miles an hour. Is certainly a potential here. This may impact some areas that had that severe warned storm earlier, so some areas not quite done. Lisbon, East Palestine, Big Beaver, over towards areas just north of the Pittsburgh area, East Liverpool, Ohio, and then over into areas around Cranberry Township, about an hour away. That's a really populated area, a lot of shopping districts in that area, north and west of Pittsburgh. So keep an eye on this storm. It could have some small hail in it, but also gusty winds that could knock down some trees, power lines, and create some issues on the roads. Wind may have come down just a little bit on the last couple scans, but still watching those areas. It's an interesting little curly Q of a storm. Not much in there on radar, so it's we'll keep an eye on that one though. And then still, I think there's some larger hail in here around Muddy Creek. Take a look at the reflectivity and the correlation coefficient. Yeah, right in here, and that should line up with the reflectivity, and it does. Muddy Creek over to West Sunbury, North Washington over towards Bruin, Toby, Brady's Bend, those areas here. This is north of Butler, coming towards Clarion, Pennsylvania. I think there's a little bit of a hail core in here that's not being warned, but let's see. 60-mile-an-hour winds, small hail. Again, I think it's probably more like an inch and a quarter. And then this is our other tornado possible tag. It does have some rotation in it, so we'll keep an eye on this one. It's near Cherry Tree and just north of Oil City. This area is a bit far from the radar, so hard to get a ground level look at this. And I want to just check its speed, 55 miles an hour. So yeah, the storms today up here in the Ohio Valley are moving. So on its current trajectory, Terrell Farms, about 8 minutes. West Hickory, about 16 minutes. That would be the same for Tionesta if it starts to take more of a right turn. And then up towards the areas around Porky in about a half hour. Let me just redraw this and just bring it a little bit further towards the right in case it starts to turn a little bit more towards the right. Tionesta, yeah, about 10-11 minutes. And after that, some really small communities out here in the mountains, but Little Hickory, Dawson Run, 10 to 15 minutes. Keep an eye on this cell. It means business. It's right here around Cherry Tree Petroleum Center. We can see here on the velocity that there is some rotation in here, and we're far from the radar, but there does seem to be a little bit of an inflow channel, a little bit of a notch feature. So that would check out. Yeah, everything's lining up. So nothing like we saw the last couple days, but there is rotation there that's trying to localize. So we do have to watch that one. Couple of utilities pulled down and power lines down on Upper 80 Road, 180 Road. Chautauqua County, I think that's how you pronounce that. I was with that storm that was has a tornado possible tag up in this area, but this is weakened pretty significantly. It's coming across New Albion, and let me just make sure we have a decently close. Yeah, we are pretty close to that Buffalo radar, and this is weakened significantly. Not seeing as much wind in here. Little bit of rotation still, but
new information.
That storm has significantly weakened. It's probably below severe limits. I'll probably let the warning continue for a little longer just in case it cycles and kind of ramps back up, but that one's on the downtrend. That's good to see. I do think this is uptrending the cell near Cherry Tree, so that one definitely take note of if you're out ahead of this. And then still watching this little hail producer around West Sudbury. And taking a look at this one again, yeah, kind of a little bit of a mini bow echo in here. There is a bowing area of wind. Wellsville, East Liverpool are the next bigger communities up. That's right along the Ohio River. This is a little panhandle of West Virginia. So this is West Virginia here. This is Ohio. It's going to basically cross this little tri-state kind of area.
A thunderstorm warning has been issued.
So yeah, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and then West Virginia borders the Ohio River right in this area. That's that storm that's generally headed towards Beaver Falls, Cranberry Township, those areas on the northwest sides of Pittsburgh. Yeah, that camera at Wheeling is getting on the darker side now. It was actually pretty sunny when I was working around the studio earlier and getting the stream set up. That had actually a really bright sunshine on it, so it is definitely darkened. Gusty winds and some small hail are potential in here. Yeah, a little bit of hail showing up around Glencoe in Ohio. This is going to make its way across the Wheeling area, and I'm just guessing by how far this goes. Yeah, northeast at 50. That's Belmont, Washington, Brooke, Marshall, and Ohio counties in West Virginia, and that's Belmont County in Ohio and Washington County in Pennsylvania. Because of how fast it's moving, I've extended this out past the warning polygon to capture some more communities in here. But the Wheeling area, about 5 to 7 minutes, depending on where you are in the Wheeling area. Martins Ferry, Wheeling, Bethlehem, 5 to 7 minutes until this storm impacts you. And then further down, Washington, about 35 minutes to Washington, Pennsylvania. And then it's going to skirt those southern suburbs of Pittsburgh. McKeesport, about 63 minutes to McKeesport, Pennsylvania. So that gives you some good ideas of where it's going next. And we'll be able to see some of the largest hail is basically coming towards this camera position. So maybe get a good visual of this storm. It's hard to get as much visuals out here because you can see by the picture above me There's a lot of different hills and hollers and steep valleys, so it does kind of block the view. So that update for the tornado watch, they're trimming some more counties, basically around the Youngstown area, Canton and Akron, and then up towards Erie. Looks like they're going to drop those counties from the tornado watch. So once this kind of broken line clears you, like Meadville, back towards Warren and Youngstown, you're good to go. It's like a couple tree reports, power lines down. Multiple trees down in Meadville, so that's one to note there. The storms are a little feistier, I think, up here for brief periods of time. And still watching this cell around Tionesta, Pennsylvania. Again, there is rotation in here. It has a tornado possible tag coming up towards Pleasantville.
New information, this severe thunderstorm warning has been updated.
Confirms 60-mile-an-hour winds for that cell in Butler, Armstrong, and Clarion counties. Still haven't seen any hail reports. So the hail may be up in this cell, but just not hitting the ground yet. It could still be elevated hail by the updraft. But at some point, when that updraft collapses, that hail is going to come down.
Updated.
And then, yeah, a bunch of strong storms, but none are super severe right now across areas like Lake Providence. The wind field seems to be coming up in this cell a little bit, so we'll keep an eye on that one. And yeah, some hail storms potentially down here. I don't know if that one has a lot of hail in it, but a couple of these pockets could around Norwood, Louisiana, and then also around, I got to really zoom in here, Hatcherville, or just west of Hatcherville. Yeah, still seeing some pretty good reflectivity and velocity scans for this cell. A little leading edge, a little bit of hail, and also likely some 60, 65 mile an hour wind gusts. That's going to be coming towards East Liverpool. Yeah, about 12 minutes to East Liverpool and 30 minutes. There we go. Surprised they didn't update that at all with the wind, but I think there's a little bit higher than 60. It's likely going to be in that 65 kind of mile range. In this area around Highlandtown, Glasgow, Calcutta, East Liverpool, and then over into areas around Rochester, Beaver, and Cranberry Township. About 42 minutes to Cranberry. And again, that gets into the northern and western suburbs of Pittsburgh. That's some pretty populated areas out here.
A new severe thunderstorm warning has been issued.
This camera position is right here on the east side of Wheeling. Looks like downtown is starting to get into the severe thunderstorm.
This severe thunderstorm warning has been updated.
They've upped the hail a little bit on this cell near Nesta, and that's the one that we are watching with a little bit of rotation in here, near Terrell Family Farms, Allegheny Township, coming up towards West Hickory and East Hickory, Yellowhammer, Wig Hill, those areas there in northeast or northwest Pennsylvania. Definitely keep your eye on that one. And then this cell still has, I think, some hail potential. Toby, East Brady, Rimmersburg, over eventually towards Clarion, Limestown, or Limestone and Brookville. It's getting very dark in this camera out of Wheeling. They've also upped the hail to $half sized hail. That would be basically over the Wheeling area.
New information, this severe thunderstorm warning has been updated.
Oh, wow. This is at the tunnel, basically in downtown Wheeling. And yeah, there is some hail coming down there.
New information, this severe thunderstorm warning has been updated. New information, this severe thunderstorm warning has been updated.
Yeah, that's pretty nasty. This is about to slam this camera. You can see how dark it's getting up in the corner of the screen here. This camera looks like it's facing east, so the storm would be behind us. It's going to be coming up from behind us, and dry roads right now, but it's about to get rocking and rolling here. This is just a couple miles away. Oh, and you can see the wind blowing along. Yeah, we can see the wind blowing along the highway here, the sheets of rain. This is downtown Wheeling. So just a couple miles difference. Dry roads, but getting about to get into the storm. I'll keep it on this camera because this camera is going to show us a lot. This is right over Wheeling.
A new radar-indicated tornado warning has been issued.
So this is that cell that I mentioned a couple minutes ago. The winds were coming up on this cell. It was a special weather statement, but the winds are definitely coming up, and there is rotation right in here near Panola. Yeah, same spot on the storm relative too. So right in here, there is a pretty tight couplet. We're a little further from the radar. It's really hard to tell what's going on. This likely is a hail streak. I can see the glitching from the hail. So it's very close to that area of rotation on radar, but I believe that's just the radar looking at this hail core right in here. Either way, that means this rotation is wrapped in the rain and hail. So you have to take that very seriously. You're not going to see this one coming. But tornado warning now into parts of southern Arkansas and northeast Louisiana. It's going to be for northeastern East Carroll Parish, southwestern, and then southwestern Chillicothe County, southwestern Washington County, and northwestern Issaquena County in Mississippi and Arkansas. That's a dangerous little cell. And it is moving, to the north and to the east. Get a read on this one, 15 miles an hour. It's not moving very fast. The one good thing is this is in the Mississippi River bottoms. I don't think there's too many people out here, but there could be some fish camps and some, there are some small communities. It would be Pitcher's Point right about now. So Pitcher's Point, you need to be in your tornado safe space, lowest level into your room, away from those doors and windows, and put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Yeah, it's going to be kind of surrounded in the hail core, so definitely you're not going to see this one coming. It's just east of Panola in extreme northeast Louisiana. Pitcher's Point, and then over towards Valwood, Glen Allen on the Mississippi side of things. It looks like the circulation may not actually impact the Arkansas County. This is south and east of Eudora. That's a really dangerous storm, kind of wrapped in the rain. Oh, look at the wind on our on this camera. I'm gonna pull this a little bit. Whoop. That is rocking and rolling there. That's the $half size hail, and coming right, basically, the biggest hail, look at it here, may just skirt this camera. It's almost moving due east, and our camera is like right there. And the biggest part of the storm is actually just north of there. Yeah, there's what it looks like in downtown Wheeling. And now pulling away from that camera, we can see the rain curtains. Wow. So pretty small, compact storm. But if you're in it, you're in it.
This severe
and if you're not, it's just
updated.
It's actually dry roads. The wind does seem to be coming down on this cell near East Liverpool. Still severe thunderstorm warning continues there into Beaver, Cranberry Township, Zelienople. And then still watching, they did update the hail to inch in diameter hail near Big Toby and Brady's Bend. And it's probably about an inch in diameter now. I think it was a little bit heavier than that a little bit ago. Way up here in the hills near West Hickory, keeping an eye on this tornado possible tag near Endeavor, Pennsylvania. And then taking a look at these storms, they are drastically reducing in strength. A couple trees down, large pine tree down earlier with those storms, but they are diminishing in intensity, which is nice to see. Back to our tornado warned storm. It's kind of a messy setup in here, but Let's take a look and see if we can still find it. It's not rotating quite as tightly as it was just a few minutes ago, but it's still wrapped up here in the hail core and north of Mayersville, Mississippi, along the Mississippi River, and south of Eudora. And it's kind of going to be in this area for a little bit. Yeah, you can see it. It kind of flared up. Maybe some remnant boundaries in here. There's kind of some storms bouncing off each other. So a little bit of an enhanced area. Where, yeah, there's some cells just kind of bouncing around, hanging out in here, producing their own little outflow boundaries, very localized events in here. And it probably just was a boundary collision that went a little bit weird. This is an area that not expecting a lot of tornadoes this afternoon, but again, Pitcher Point over towards Addy, Mississippi, and then Glen Allen continue to stay in your tornado safe space.
A thunderstorm warning has been issued. New information, this severe thunderstorm warning has been updated.
There's one of our cameras out of the Mississippi area. That's just south of Greenville. That is on 82, US 82 at the Mississippi Bridge. That's right here, just actually kind of north of that
A new
tornado warned
thunderstorm warning has been issued.
Okay, trim that up a little bit. Yeah, that's just north of our tornado warned storm, so keeping an eye on that one pretty closely there. Although it's kind of broadened and fallen apart, so it was likely a brief area there that kind of localized. Keep an eye on it though. National Weather Service has extended out that warning for tornado possible. That's through that Allegheny Forest area, Cherry Grove, Wetmore, Mount Jewett, Lafayette, and Smethport. Continue to keep your eye on that one. 60-mile-an-hour winds, quarter-size hail. They've also extended out that warning for the area around Toby.
A new severe thunderstorm warning has been issued.
Yeah, that's going to be this new warning extends out through Clarion, Limestone, Brookville, and Brockway, just west of Du Bois, Pennsylvania. There is Du Bois there, bigger town, Brookville, right along I-80. The interstate line that you see cutting across basically half of this warning polygon, that's I-80 right there. Really well-traveled highway. So dangerous travel conditions up along I-80.
This severe thunderstorm warning has been updated.
And then keep your eye on a couple stronger storms north of Pittsburgh.
New information. This severe thunderstorm warning has been updated.
Gusty storm near Zelienople. And then this storm had earlier probably 65, 70-mile-an-hour winds. It's backed off significantly since we're seeing it, especially close to the radar site too. But general severe thunderstorm with some gustier winds coming into areas around Beaver Falls, Zelienople, Cranberry Township. Also have those severe warned cell now pushing east of Wheeling into areas around Washington, Pennsylvania. Yeah, we can see the clouds a little bit from that storm. That's it. It's moving off. And it never actually rained at our location in this camera position. The storm just went probably just about a mile to the north of this. And we saw on the other camera, there was heavy rain, sheets of rain blowing sideways across the road, some small hail, but this camera missed that position. Still another shot at maybe some severe weather, but these storms are behaving themselves. A line of storms now organizing just west of Wheeling. And we did have looks like a report here, public report of 1.25 inch hail. And also an inch hail report by emergency management. So a couple larger hail storms. And yeah, a couple of these storms out here near Uvalde and Camp Wood and Leakey are also going up. I would not be shocked to get a severe warning out of some of these cells out in southwestern Texas in the near term. And then a lot of strong storms right now into the eastern piney woods of Texas and Natchitoches, and then over towards center Texas, crossing into parts of Louisiana near Mansfield and Logansport. But I concur with those based on the look. They were mostly just gusty showers and storms. And they have dropped that tornado warning. So it's back to a special weather statement.
A new severe thunderstorm warning has been issued.
But I am worried this area is not moving that much. So flash flooding is a potential issue here. Strong storm coming into areas around Red Bay and south of Muscle Shoals in Alabama. And yeah, I would guess they're going to drop a lot of this watch area pretty soon across Tennessee. Most of these counties are getting clear to the storm. It'll be interesting to see if they issue any new watch or anything in this area, but we haven't seen a lot of severe weather. But Nashville, things are clearing out down towards Columbia, and then certainly everybody earlier around Memphis, and looks like they're going to trim some watches around the Greenville and Cleveland areas into Mississippi. Also areas around Oxford, north of Grenada, Mississippi. You guys are all good. So that was our one tornado warning. So I guess our
new information.
I guess our stream for tornado threat has updated. Our stream name has been accurate today. but this is the area that has the highest tornado threat. It has not materialized yet, but we'll see if it does here in the next little bit. We're getting into some peak daytime heating, and let's look at temperatures real quick and take a look and see what things are doing. Yeah, this area here is kind of your warm nose. You can see it's 55 at Hagerstown and 50s around Lewistown. Up towards Lock Haven, it's in the 50 around 40. And then 60s up here along the southern tier. But right in here, this is your warm nose. So down in here, Pittsburgh, it's at 78 degrees, 79 Greensburg, 80 at Uniontown. There is storm fuel in this small little area here. And there may be enough just kind of vorticity as that glancing blow of the low pressure kind of lifts up into Canada. That gives us a little bit of speed shear and directional shear, and then also a little bit of storm fuel needed along the warm front as it kind of lifts into this area. And even a little bit of a warm nose up here too. It's 68 at Rochester, 74 Dansville. So right where the tornado watch is, that's basically the warm sector. The very compact warm sector up in this area. Wouldn't be surprised if we see a severe warning out of these hailstorms north of Uvalde, Texas, approaching areas south of Kerrville. Otherwise, it is a humid day with scattered showers, scattered thunderstorms. Not a lot of severe weather right now across Texas. But also watching some of these storms bubble up on the Mississippi River Valley. A couple of those were severe earlier. These ones are making strong storms. These are making their way north towards Hazelhurst and eventually into the Jackson, Mississippi area. Starting to get a little cloudier look at the Jackson area. We saw the kind of mix of sun and clouds earlier, but things are starting to get a little bit stormier west of town. This is looking west at Jackson. And yeah, you can see those storms starting to build up. Here's the thunderstorm continues there around Russellville and south of Muscle Shoals and Florence, around the Red Bay area into northwest parts of Alabama. Strong storms, but not severe, cutting through Middle Tennessee.
Severe thunderstorm warning has been updated.
Yeah, cutting through Middle Tennessee right now, all east of Nashville. So Nashville, you're clearing out. Severe threat is basically over in the Nashville metro.
Updated.
Not quite yet done with the severe risk for Cookeville. And then, yeah, no tornado warnings right now. We have gotten this kind of concentrated area of at least severe thunderstorm warnings. A couple of those are tornado possible tags. The one that we'd been watching for a while with some rotation near Cherry Grove. moving towards Lafayette and Smethport, Kane, that is in northern parts of Pennsylvania. South of there, the hail I think has come down on this near Clarion, but it's still a strong storm coming towards Brookville and Brockway. And then back to the Pittsburgh area. Strong storm but gusty winds coming through areas like Elwood City, Big Beaver, and approaching Zelienople. Another stronger storm near Muddy Creek and Butler, but that's not severe. And then we do have a little bit of more of an organized line starting to form into southeast parts of Ohio. That's coming through Cadiz, Hopedale, approaching Wheeling again with some more rain and storms. And then down near New Martinsville, this will be basically riding along the Ohio River and then crossing the Ohio River into West Virginia. The other strong storm that we saw, some heavy rain and hail, at least when it crossed Wheeling, is approaching Washington, Pennsylvania, with some gusty winds and small hail. They've dropped the $half size hail. It's down to quarters. It's also coming towards McGovern. And this one will ride along the southern parts of the Pittsburgh Metro. So keeping your eye on that one. That one's, let's see, get a new speed here, 50 miles an hour. A lot of these up here are moving pretty quickly. That one may make it over towards Greensburg in about an hour. To Greensburg, and then let's pick a town. McKeesport, about 30 minutes. So this area here, McKeesport down to Elizabeth, about 30 minutes. And then Washington, McGovern, about six minutes. Bethel Park, 20. Gastonville, 20. Kind of gives you a good idea of the pace of that storm. And just as we were talking about it, they've issued a new severe thunderstorm warning covering those areas. Continuing that out, quarter-size hail, 60-mile-an-hour winds. And just want to check and make sure still moving east at 50. So yeah, all those areas we just talked about, severe thunderstorm warning continues there. South sides of Pittsburgh. Still seeing some rotation here near Sheffield. Let's back this up and see if it's kind of maintained itself. It has not strengthened. It hasn't really tightened up any further.
A new severe thunderstorm warning has been issued.
There's the warning for that. That's Allegheny, Washington, and Westmoreland counties in Pennsylvania.
New information, this severe thunderstorm warning has been updated.
Well, this is that storm we were just looking at. I guess they've seen enough.
Indicated tornado warning.
It looks about the same as it did earlier, but so I'm just kind of seeing radar indicated rotation. Wasn't sure if maybe a spotter saw a wall cloud or something on it.
New information. This severe thunderstorm warning has been updated.
It is moving east at 50. Yeah, radar indicated tornado warning for McKean and Warren counties in Pennsylvania. that is located over Sheffield, moving east at 60. And it may be that it just crossed into a new weather office. This is actually being warned out of State College, so it's still in here. It just hasn't looked like it's really gotten much tighter or stronger than it was earlier. Let's take a look. Yeah, that's the State College radar. Maybe briefly. It is a little bit stronger on the State College radar than it did look on the Pittsburgh one. But back here, it was about the same. Yeah, it's about the same. I think the only reason it's being warned is because it is a different weather office. But we'll continue to watch it. It is an area of rotating thunderstorm and also larger hail, about 1 inch in diameter.
New information, this severe thunderstorm warning has been updated.
Okay, I kind of took it out from the leading edge of the hail and also just ahead of the mesocyclone. Wetmore, Pennsylvania, will be about 5 minutes from now, and then Lafayette and Mount Jewett, about 17 minutes. Smethport, 28, and then if it holds all the way together through this warning polygon, just outside of that is Port Allegheny, about 37 minutes. So again, if you're in this path, you want to think about where your tornado safety precautions are. Lowest level into your room, away from those doors and windows. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. If you have the basement or storm shelter, that's your best option. These areas, there's probably some areas that do have basements up in this part of Pennsylvania, so I think that's a bonus there. But if you don't have a basement, that's fine. Just get to that lowest level. Make sure you're on the first floor and away from windows, away from exterior walls. So that's usually like a hall closet or an interior bathroom. And if your bathroom has a bathtub on that low level, you can get into the bathtub, put some blankets and pillows over you to protect your head and ride it out in the bathroom. But yeah, keep an eye on this. You don't have to go to your tornado safe space yet if you're out by Smethport, Lafayette, or Port Allegheny. But this storm has had at least a decently long track record of having a established mesocyclone where we're seeing some rotation in the clouds based on the radar, and it's held that for a long period of time, the last hour or so since we've been tracking it, and it's been pretty consistent at holding this east-northeast pace. So that's why I have this tracked out beyond the immediate tornado warning. Again, if I'm out ahead of this, you don't have to go to your safe place yet. In these towns, Lafayette, Port Allegheny, what I'd be doing here is also watching us and liking and subscribing, but also tuning on the TV to the local news station that's probably also talking about the tornado warning and seeing what their thoughts are. They obviously have some expertise knowing your local communities in great detail, so that's a great resource. And then I'm also just making sure you may have already gotten the notification on your phone, but just double check, make sure your emergency alerts are on your phone, make sure that NOAA weather radio is working. And then, if you're working upstairs or outside, might be time to start kind of packing that up, get inside and away from windows, get into that sturdy structure. And then closer in, you want to be taking those tornado safety precautions that I mentioned earlier. So lowest level into your room for Wetmore, Gibbs Hill, Ludlow, and areas around Swede Hill, the Tionesta Scenic Nature Reserve, and areas just east and south of Sheffield. You want to stay in that tornado safe space. First tornado warning of the day in Pennsylvania. And I believe that's the first tornado warning in Pennsylvania this year for 2026. Still seeing some strong storms by Brookville. Nothing too punchy there. And then these storms are weakening as they're north of Pittsburgh, around Zelienople, just north of Butler. Keeping on those ones. A little bit more uncontaminated access to some warm air in the southern and western parts of Pennsylvania, south of Pittsburgh. So I'm keeping an eye on some of these storms. They may have a potential to be some of the stronger storms in this watch area. Watching around Washington, Pennsylvania. That one's trying to develop a little bit of a hook. It's been a hail producer for a little while, produced 1.25 inch hail back just to the west of Wheeling. So keeping an eye on that storm, it's going to ride south towards McKeesport and then eventually over towards Greensburg, Pennsylvania. And then I also want to take a look at here. It's going to get dark again in Wheeling. Yeah, look at that. That's downtown Wheeling as those storms are slamming the downtown. This is at that tunnel on I-70. Pretty good rain. And that's pushing into through Wheeling right now. Not severe. And you can kind of tell there's not as much wind as that severe warned storm earlier. We're not seeing the rain curtains blowing across the highway. It's just pretty much just falling straight down along the camera perspective. There's a little bit of a gust. It just kind of tilted a little bit. But you're not seeing the big heavy winds like we did earlier. And then I'll keep it on this camera because this has a little bit nicer, wider perspective. It looks east, so storms are going to be sneaking up from behind this camera perspective, but the storm isn't going to miss the camera this time. That's a pretty solid line from Steubenville and Weirton all the way through Wheeling, Moundsville, and then approaching New Martinsville, West Virginia. Nothing severe there. Maybe wind is picking up a little bit around Steubenville. This would be an area that I'd watch a little bit closer for some stronger winds. Yeah, it's pushing 55 to maybe 60. If it holds that position, it could get a severe thunderstorm warning that would maybe get extended out through the Pittsburgh area. So keep an eye on that area. That's one to watch. Back to our radar indicated tornado warning. That is the only tornado warning right now in the U.S. Yeah, they're going to extend that warning for some gusty winds coming through Moraine State Park, Muddy's Creek, West Sunbury, north of Butler. That storm's surging out just a little bit. A little bit of a radar hole.
A new severe thunderstorm warning has been issued.
But there's the look of that. It's just over the Wetmore area, just south of Ludlow. Doesn't look that strong on the radar, but we're up at a high level, so it's also hard to know what's going on the ground level. I'm going to pull this camera a little bigger so you can see what's going on in the Wheeling area. This is going to get slammed. And let's see, I might actually put it a little bit smaller.
New information. This severe thunderstorm warning has been updated.
Let's do that and just kind of slide it down there for now. That way you can see more of the radar real estate. Now it'll be interesting to see what they do here and see if they extend this tornado warning.
New information. This severe thunderstorm warning.
The rotation is not intensified, at least on radar, and it hasn't really tightened. It's been consistently about this strength for a long time.
This severe thunderstorm warning has been
I don't know if it needed a tornado warning or not. I think it was sufficed with a special weather statement, or not a special weather statement, but a tornado possible severe thunderstorm warning. It's still kind of broad. It's still kind of weak. But this is an area that doesn't get a ton of tornadoes, especially this time of year, so we'll give it to them. It's definitely worth warning. Little weird hook feature, but there's no rotation showing up on the low levels in that. Watching a little bit of rotation trying to develop right in this cell as it's approaching Washington, and now through Washington, but approaching Baldwin, Bethel Park. Just keep an eye on this little area, some kind of a shear line developing. These are winds kind of going away from the radar, and these are winds coming towards the radar. Nothing tornadic, but just kind of watching this little kink in this line. If it can surge out and funnel some of that inflow, it has a little bit of a potential here.
New information, this tornado warning has been updated.
They trimmed it down a little bit. They haven't really extended it, so I'm thinking they're probably just going to let it expire in 7 minutes. The rotation itself is just at the edge of this warning polygon. Wetmore and just north of Kane, approaching Mount Jewett. Again, if you're in this warning polygon, definitely want to stay inside, into your room, away from windows and doors. And be ready to take your tornado safety precautions, especially, again, south of Lafayette, south of, around Smethport and south, down to about Kane, and over towards Norwich. If I was in this corridor right here, just be ready to take your action plan. Oh, and there's the, look at the difference there at the camera in the wheeling area. Those cars are westbound, headed towards Wheeling, and actually against the wind. You can see some wind blowing away from the camera. We're still far from the radar site, but this cell has come up in intensity. This could use a tornado warning soon if they're going to warn something. It's a weird little cell, but there is some rotation now picking up around Carroll. And that would be coming up towards Wellsville, Independence, Petrolia, Standards, Wirt, Richburg, Bolivar. Yeah, that storm has intensified rather quickly. Now, we are really far from the radar, too, so
new information.
It's looking at the upper levels, but that storm is the one to watch, coming towards Wellsville and Independence. If that continues to strengthen, may need to put a tornado warning on that one. And yeah, area of rotation here. Approaching Tally-Ho, Guffey, Lance Corners. Couple nasty cells there in northern Pennsylvania. There we go. I'll put that back in the box since we're kind of passing those storms. Gusty winds, small hail around Brookville over towards Brockaway. A little bit of an S shape. Let's just check the wind in there. A little bit of a wind profile showing up around Muddy Creek. It's going to keep lifting up towards Monroe. And then they're going to trim some more counties off the watch. New Philadelphia, you guys are good to go. In Ohio, Cambridge and Caldwell, those areas basically along and west of that I-77, you guys are going to be good to go. Actually, they're going to, looks like, trim more. Everything west of the Ohio River is pretty much going to get canceled from the tornado watch. So that checks out. That once this line clears you, that's pretty much the last of the severe weather chances. And that line is basically along and east of the Ohio River. I would also include down towards Parkersburg and areas. Yeah, basically Ohio, you're done with the severe weather today. Okay, let's go back and look at the top. Tornado possible tag. Yeah, kind of broad rotation still showing up around Carroll, just across the New York state line, coming up towards Wellsville, Standards, and Independence. That's a tornado possible tag, severe thunderstorm. And then our other severe warned storm, this was tornado warned just until a minute or two ago. Still showing broad, weak rotation in here. I'd keep an eye on this. Lafayette, Mount Jewett, Hazelhurst, and Smethport. Also, eventually it was Port Allegheny. Yeah, Port Allegheny is up next also. Keep an eye on this. It may get another tornado warning if it tightens up. Or seeing it a little bit clearer since we are somewhat closer to the State College radar. But it's still really far away. We're still looking about 70 miles to that storm. So it's really hard to tell what's going on at the ground level. And then they are going to warn that area that I talked about earlier around Steubenville that was showing some 60 to potentially 65 plus mile an hour winds. It's likely still producing a little pocket of stronger winds in here. And this is close to the radar, so we can see that there's at least 50 to 60 mile an hour winds, if not a little bit stronger. So that's going to put a warning through the Pittsburgh area. No hail, just a damaging wind threat. Allegheny County, Washington, Westmoreland, Armstrong, and Butler counties, all in western Pennsylvania.
A new severe thunderstorm warning has been issued.
That one's moving. That is moving at about 65 miles an hour. So that's going to be over towards the airport, Moon Township, Pennsylvania, about 14 minutes.
New information. This severe thunderstorm warning has been updated.
And then downtown Pittsburgh, about 20 minutes to downtown Pittsburgh up to McCandless.
New information. This severe thunderstorm warning has been updated.
And then back out towards Vandergrift, about 45 minutes. So if you're in those eastern Pittsburgh suburbs, between about 20 to 40 minutes, depending on where you are. There's a lot of population in here. So damaging wind risk is the primary threat. Yeah, I don't see anything spinning in here. This is mostly a damaging wind risk where that's bulging out, at least for now. Keep an eye on any QLCS spins or anything. They've upped the one cell on the south sides of Pittsburgh to $half sized hail. Also keeping an eye, there is a little rotation in here near Gastonville coming towards McKeesport. So keep an eye on that part of the cell too. And then strong storms, not severe, all the way down into parts of West Virginia. I think they've added maybe a county or two to this watch down there. It looks a little different than it did earlier. I don't know for sure. couple tornado possible, severe thunderstorm warnings working along the southern tier of New York. Still broad rotation showing near Wellsville and Independence.
New information. This severe thunderstorm warning has been
And then
updated.
this has significantly weakened as far as rotation near Mount Jewett and Lafayette. Some gusty winds northern Butler County around West Sudbury, and then up towards the state game lands, North Washington and Eau Claire, Pennsylvania. But Pittsburgh, time now to take your, not tornado safety measures, but just take your severe thunderstorm safety precautions away from windows, away from doing chores and water activities like, bathing, washing dishes, those sort of things. I don't think anyone uses landlines anymore, but if you do, time to get off the phone. And yeah, stay away from doors and windows. If you do have a tree-filled property, a lot of trees on your property, you want to take a little bit more heavy safety precautions similar to a tornado, because tree falls can do some pretty serious damage to property, but also personal health and safety. So keep an eye on that one. Again, 50 or 60 mile an hour winds pushing through the areas here across the Pittsburgh metro. Not seeing any hail with this cluster of storms. Well, I should say the warning that goes through the Pittsburgh area, not seeing any hail with that one. There is half dollar size hail from the southern hills of Pittsburgh down towards McKeesport. That individual cell has a little more hail in it. But this line of storms back here, this is your clearing edge line of storms along the cold front. And once that clears, your severe weather threat diminishes significantly. A bunch of strong scattered thunderstorms around the areas here in the Mississippi Valley. I've been watching this storm for a while. It's kind of bowing out a little bit as it actually surges to the north and east towards the Jackson metro. There's a look out of Jackson looking south and basically looking right towards that storm. So this is coming up towards Crystal Springs, Terry, and then it would be into the southern sides of Jackson, Mississippi. Getting close to needing a severe warning. There's at least 40 or 50 mile an hour winds in here. If it gets a little heavier, you'll probably get a warning. Yeah, I think that is the official little tag, the update.
New information.
I believe they just added kind of this area
warning has been updated
to the tornado watch, if I'm not mistaken. So that would include Fairmount, Clarksburg, Morgantown, and areas around Harrisville, kind of those northern parts of West Virginia. Just in case things get feisty with these line of storms and also a couple storms that are out in front.
New information. This severe thunderstorm warning has been updated.
Still seeing a little bit of broad rotation with this cell coming towards Wellsville. The rotation has really significantly backed off as it's coming between Lafayette and Smethport. The hail has come down on that cell. They may eventually let that warning expire in 10 minutes.
This severe considerable destructive thunderstorm warning has been updated.
Oh boy. And they have updated this to a considerable threat, destructive thunderstorm. There are some pockets, I think. Radar indicated. Yeah. 70 mile an hour winds. That's coming into Allegheny, Armstrong, southern Butler County, Washington, and Westmoreland counties. That will affect the Pittsburgh area. And then also the wind is coming up in this cell too, near Penn Hills. That is surging out a little bit. You can see this little feature, this little kind of mini bow echo surging out through Penn Hills. That is a dangerous part of the other storm. And half dollar size hail is a potential in that storm too. That cell has had a little bit of rotation at times south of McKeesport, but nothing tornadic. Just kind of keeping an eye on that little area of the storm there. So right on the leading edge of this, about 10 minutes to Pittsburgh, downtown Pittsburgh, about 10 minutes to the leading edge of this severe thunderstorm, less than about 5 minutes to the Moon Township area out by the airport. It's pretty much on that area. And then back out east, another 20 to 40 minutes to get out towards Lower Burnell, New Kensington, and that sort of area. But you may get a severe storm before that. This storm around Penn Hills has some nasty wind in it, approaching areas around Monroeville, North Versailles, and McKeesport.
This severe thunderstorm warning has been updated.
Let's check our storm up here. Still seeing that broad rotation around Petrolia, coming towards Wellsville. I feel like that storm has slowed down. It says it's still moving at 50, but I feel like we've been talking about that area for a little while. All right, we talked about this a couple minutes ago. That storm was 50 or 60 mile an hour winds coming towards the Jackson, Mississippi metro. And yeah, the winds have continued to pick up there, seeing a pretty good pocket of 55 to 62 mile an hour winds. We're also getting closer to the airport and the radar site.
A new severe thunderstorm warning has been issued.
That is for Copiah, Hinds, Madison, and Rankin counties. Hinds, Madison, Rankin, and Copiah counties. And that is moving northeast at 35. So Terry, about 5 to 10 minutes, maybe a little bit quicker there towards Terry. Yeah, about 5 to 7 minutes towards Terry, 17 minutes to Florence, 18 minutes to Richland, and then about 20 minutes to Jackson and Pearl, Mississippi. And that's a look right above us there of that storm. So gives us a good idea of what's going on.
A new severe thunderstorm warning has been issued.
here's a look at that storm from Terry. So a couple flashes of lightning. You can kind of see the core of that storm. A little bit of a, not quite a shelf cloud, but a little bit of a lip kind of hanging out ahead of that. That little lip will likely have some of the higher winds just under that before you even get to that core of the storms. The highest winds are going to be right on that leading edge of this storm, and it's moving from the slightly southwest to slightly northeast, more northerly. So it's basically coming from this camera perspective, and it'll kind of come towards this camera from the top right to the lower left. And I do see some decent cloud to ground lightning with that storm too.
A new severe thunderstorm warning has been issued.
Yeah, definitely surging out near Crystal Springs. That's some heavier wind in here too. 55 to 60 miles an hour likely around Crystal Springs. So that little part on the right, yeah, the darker on the right, that's this little nub. And then we're kind of at Terry looking back towards the storm. So where it gets a little bit, that's kind of a little
New
shelf look.
This severe considerable
Looking back underneath that highway.
Warning has been updated.
It's a good little shot. Severe thunderstorm warning continues around Russellville in Alabama. And then yes, everything from west of the Ohio River in Ohio and West Virginia, you guys are clear. Ohio is good to go. No more severe weather for today and this weekend. So have a good weekend in Ohio. They've also cleared out Erie and Meadville. Back into Pittsburgh, though, things are still rocking and rolling. That heavy wind is basically just east of the airport, coming through McKees Rocks. It'll be into downtown Pittsburgh in the next couple minutes. And then some really nasty winds are showing up near Plum in that cell that's out ahead of the line segment. That's coming up towards Apollo. That's a considerable threat on its own. That little surge out towards Plum that came across Penn Hills. Wouldn't be surprised if we get some tree damage reports from this area here. But you can see that's really surging out. Camp Joanne, North Washington, Bell Point. You want to be in your interior space away from windows and doors for that one. It's a nasty cell. We'll see if it tries to localize an area of rotation. It's not really rotating yet, but it could. Yeah, it's more of a surge of wind on the outbound side. Yeah, there's potentially some 75 plus mile an hour winds in there. And yeah, some good 60 to 70 mile an hour winds showing up just east of the airport.
A new severe thunderstorm warning has been issued.
So considerable threat that's going to be coming into Pittsburgh in about 6 minutes, and then out towards New Kensington in about 18 minutes, and Vandergrift in 28. That's the originally warned cell. I do want to jump ahead and warn this area in particular. I believe that one's moving a little bit slower at about 50. That would be into Vandergrift in about 10 to 11 minutes to Apollo. And then Salina, about 12 minutes. Salzburg, 15. That is some really damaging winds potentially in here. Just near Plum and Camp Joanne. That's a dangerous cell. I'm surprised it doesn't get its own warning. It probably should. And that was producing $half size hail earlier. I don't know if it is right now. It's more of a wind threat at the moment. We're also kind of keeping our eye on that for tornado possible They've also designated this one tornado possible. A little small hailstorm coming up through Brockaway. That was the cell that was near Brookville earlier. It's out here towards Brandy Camp. A little bit of rotation on it. Not much showing on it, but it's definitely a nasty cell. That's for Cameron and Elk counties in north central Pennsylvania. It's also moving at a pretty good pace, 50 miles an hour. So taking it out from the leading edge, that's going to put it towards areas like Benzonet in about 20 minutes. Elk River or Elk State Forest, about 33 minutes. Coal Hollow, about 5 minutes. And if it takes just a little bit more of an easterly jog, it might be into a little more populated areas. Coal Hollow, 5 minutes. Jericho, about 38 minutes. And Mix Run, 31. Wow, there's the wind on the Mississippi camera. That's it. It was a T-Town name. What was that? Another tornado report. I didn't miss that one earlier.
A new severe thunderstorm warning has been issued.
Tornado report must have been from earlier south of Paducah. Tyler, was it Tyler? Yeah, Terry, Mississippi. There's the wind smashing into that camera. Yeah, and you can see here our camera position is right about there. And the heavy precip is just to the south. So a good mile or two out ahead of the precip is the wind. And there is some significant wind potentially in here too. This one may have, let's look at this. This may have some 60 to 70 mile an hour winds as well. Especially where the higher wind that we're seeing on the radar intersects with this higher precip. That precip can sometimes bring this higher level wind down to the ground. So normally if we're looking at like a tornado signature, we're decently far from the radar. So that's off a couple hundred feet off the ground. And we'd be saying, well, this isn't really translating to the ground level. That's a little different in a tornado versus a damaging wind threat, where some of this is downdrafting and downward wind with the precip. That could potentially reach the ground, that 60, 70 mile an hour wind gust. And that's coming through Morgan's Store, approaching areas around Terry. So we'll hold this camera and see if it gets even windier. A new severe thunderstorm warning in Kentucky, 60 mile an hour winds. That's coming through Jackson, Kentucky right now. Yeah, there's some wind in here. Jackson, Rousseau, Fork Air, and Tip Top.
A new considerable destructive thunderstorm warning has been issued.
Yeah, they did end up warning what I was talking about earlier. That separate cell is getting a considerable threat for Vandergrift. I want to double check and see its speed. I thought it was about 55 miles an hour. So Vandergrift, it's about now. You need to take shelter very similar to a tornado warning. Lowest level interior room, away from the doors and windows. Especially if you have trees on your property, you definitely want to take a low level interior room. Even the basement might be a better option. Stay off the phones, stay out of the water. And this one's going to be a nasty one here across eastern parts of Pittsburgh. South Bend, Indiana.
New information. This severe thunderstorm
Elderton, Ernest, all those areas east of Pittsburgh. It's about 26 minutes to Ernest in Indiana. About 18 to Elderton and South Bend, and then it's about 5 minutes or less to Vandergrift and Avonmore and Leechburg. That's a nasty cell. That's one of our more potent looking cells today that we've seen on radar. And close to the airport radar out of Moon Township, we're seeing it over 70 mile an hour winds potentially in here. 65 or 70 to 75 mile an hour winds. I think we're going to get some tree damage reports out of that one. This is likely reduced a little bit, but there are some pockets of higher winds coming through this cell. That's also considerable threat warned across the Pittsburgh area. And they have dropped the considerable threats. I'd agree with that. Mostly just 60 mile an hour winds, maybe a little higher in spots coming through Pittsburgh, Wilkinsburg, Penn Hills. Now, the other thing to worry about is this little corridor here around Penn Hills and Plum had just gone through the considerable threat already. That may make some trees and limbs that maybe have half broken and potentially could get injured by falling trees and stuff that that could get knocked down by less than severe winds.
New information. This severe considerable destructive thunderstorm warning has been updated.
We're going to bounce around a little bit, double checking those tornado possible tags. Considerable threat, again, around the eastern parts of the Pittsburgh metro. Go down to the Jackson metro in Mississippi, because we do have the considerable threat, 70 mile an hour winds coming towards Jackson. We showed that on radar earlier. There was 60 to 70 mile an hour winds also in this particular pocket coming towards the Jackson area. This camera is in a great perspective for it, so this camera may be right in line for some 70 mile an hour winds. And we saw some pretty nasty winds in the leading edge of this. But let's take a look here. This 70 mile an hour winds are potentially about 2 miles away from this, just kind of back in this precip here. That's where the heavier precip may be able to translate some of that higher wind to the ground level. There's even a pocket of higher winds, but that may be a little bit of a radar glitch. But 60 to 70 easy, maybe a couple areas over 70. There's a 72 showing up there. Losing a little bit of that camera. Half dollar size hail to the storm to the south near Hazelhurst and Wesson. So a couple stronger storms in Mississippi right now. And then we did get finally a severe thunderstorm warning for that cell out of Uvalde County. That is out here in the Texas Hill Country. Mostly a large hail threat. Quarter size hail right now, but that could have some higher hail if that continues to uptrend.
A new severe thunderstorm warning has been issued.
There's some lightning showing up on that camera too. We're about to get into some of that higher wind in this camera, potentially over that 70 mile an hour mark. So let's take a look at this again. And we may have already skipped over a little bit of it, but when the camera wasn't recording here, there's potentially some higher wind in here. 60, 67. Yeah, it's right on this leading edge, kind of this leading edge blob. Okay, this is just north of that Terry position.
A new severe
This is
thunderstorm
at
warning has been issued.
Sywell Road. So yeah, this is north of Terry, right in here, where we're looking towards the storm again, where there's potentially some of that 70+ mile-an-hour wind. Considerable threat again coming to the south side of Jackson. Let's get the just an updated track on this. 35 mile-an-hour forward progress. And that's about
this severe
5 minutes or less to New Byram. That's where our camera position is. So 5 minutes or less there. And then Choctaw Village, 10 minutes. Downtown Jackson, Mississippi, 20 minutes. And that's everybody here really along I-20. Pearl, Country Place, out towards the airport at Brandon. A little bit further there, 34 minutes. And then if that holds together, Ridgeland and Madison, about 40 minutes to the Ridgeland and Madison areas. Here's the initial burst of wind on this camera that's shaking now. We'll see if we can get into the higher wind that's just behind this.
New information, this severe thunderstorm warning has been updated.
That's a nasty storm coming into the Jackson area. South of there, some hail towards Hazelhurst and Brookhaven. And then I want to get back up to Pittsburgh, where we have the considerable threat near Vandergrift. It's come down just a little bit, but still South Bend. Areas towards Indiana, Pennsylvania. This is a nasty cell. Considerable threat for 70-mile-an-hour winds. Westmoreland, Armstrong, and Indiana counties. South Bend about 5 minutes, and then Indiana, Pennsylvania, and Ernest about 18 minutes. Strong storms also coming through the eastern suburbs of Pittsburgh. Penn Hills back into some strong to severe thunderstorm winds down towards McKeesport and West Newton. Oh, may have gotten into the stronger wind there. Camera's really bouncing around. New severe thunderstorm warning from McKeesport, Greensburg, and Blairsville, Pennsylvania. And then watching this cell around Brookville. That has a little bit of rotation in it too. This cell around Brookville, that would be coming up towards Brockaway. The cells to the north have really diminished into New York and parts of northern Pennsylvania.
A new severe thunderstorm warning has been issued.
This is real close to the radar site too. A lot of these storms today are really close to the radar site. So seeing this pretty good verification there of 55 to 60-mile-an-hour winds. Severe thunderstorm continuing there for the areas around Jackson in Kentucky, and then points to the east.
A new severe thunderstorm warning has been issued.
Interesting things here. These cells are lifting off to the north. There's a bit of an outflow boundary sagging to the south, so that's going to spark some extra convection and extra juice in here, giving a little extra lift and convergence creating a little localized corridor of some stronger storms in this area. Canton.
New information, this severe thunderstorm warning has been updated.
Canton and Madison, Pickens, those areas north of Jackson. That's Madison and Yazoo counties in Mississippi. 60-mile-an-hour winds, quarter-size hail for some of those cells. They're lifting kind of east-northeast away from the Jackson area. And then they have allowed the winds to drop. Yeah, there's not as much wind in here anymore. Still bouncing around quite a bit. This is looking north towards Jackson now.
New information, this severe thunderstorm warning has been updated.
But still a severe thunderstorm coming into Jackson, Mississippi. Lifting to Jackson now, about 10 to 13 minutes. Richland, 9 minutes. Florence, about pretty quickly, about 5 minutes. And then Brandon, about 15 to 20 minutes.
This severe thunderstorm warning has been updated. New information, this severe thunderstorm warning has been updated. New information, this severe thunderstorm warning has been updated.
Here's a look out of Jackson. This is at I-55, basically just north of I-20, looking towards those storms as they lift up towards the Jackson metro. Severe warned, not considerable threat, although there are, I think, some pockets still of some higher winds in here. 60, 65-mile-an-hour winds up along I-55. The hail cores come down a little bit.
New information, this severe thunderstorm warning.
And nothing's showing on the velocity scan, but this has a little bit of a shrimp kind of look to it. That's a little bit concerning. I don't see anything localizing, but we'll keep an eye on that, especially with some of the convergent boundaries in this area, just to make sure nothing crazy happens. And then we have a new severe thunderstorm watch. Scattered hail up to ping pong ball sized, isolated gusts up to 70 are possible, and frequent lightning. Again, not much of a tornado risk down here. That is everybody here in South Texas. That includes Eagle Pass, Uvalde, Laredo, Pleasanton, San Antonio, San Marcos, south suburbs of Austin towards the San Marcos area, and then areas like Beeville, Corpus Christi, Kingsville. I think I've said that already. Laredo and Victoria and Bay City. It does not include Houston right now. The Houston Metro over here. It does include San Antonio and the New Braunfels, San Marcos areas. So some pretty high populated areas. Over about
warning, a new special marine warning.
4.5 million people. So quite a big area, and that goes until when was that? Goes until 11 p.m. Central Time. 11 p.m. Central Time, could have some big hailstorms out in the areas in South Texas. Okay, back to Pittsburgh and our Pennsylvania storms. Severe warned storms now pushing east of Pittsburgh. Considerable threat still for the cell near South Bend and Elderton and approaching Indiana, Pennsylvania. But that one doesn't look quite as punchy as it did earlier. It still is a Boeing feature. And then behind there, severe storms from Clinton, Harrison Township, all the way through, approaching Vandergrift again, down through West Newton. We'll keep an eye on those. Again, headed towards Indiana, Bush Valley kind of areas. North of there, we have that tornado possible tag up towards the Elk State Forest. Yeah, there's that area of rotation near Mix Run and Driftwood, Elk State Forest. So anyone out there, if you know anyone that's doing some outdoor activities, text them and let them know there's a pretty nasty storm coming their way with at least some small hail, gusty winds, frequent lightning,
new information,
and a tornado possible.
This severe thunderstorm warning has been updated.
Yeah, you can see the watch is populating below me there on the bottom bar. So you'll see the counties there for that watch in Texas starting to populate. And some more counties they've dropped from the tornado watch. Newcastle, Franklin, and now areas like Steubenville, and also the panhandle of West Virginia. So all those areas around Wheeling, they got hit pretty hard earlier. Here's a look at that Wheeling area. Starting to clear out behind the line of storms. Still some wet roadways. Yeah, still some rain, but those severe warned storms have moved off to the east. And then also watching a couple stronger storms near Somerset, Pennsylvania. They're also going to trim some of this watch around Parkersburg, Harrisville, up towards New Martinsville, West Virginia. Okay, so we got Pittsburgh and the Pittsburgh area covered. I want to check this watch or warning over here. Towards Tip Top, severe thunderstorm there in Kentucky. Strong storms coming through Middle Tennessee, pushing towards the Knoxville area eventually. And then a little bit slower forward progress down into the south. But severe thunderstorm continues there around Moulton. And then strong storms from around the Huntsville area, Decatur, Alabama, down through areas around Columbus, Mississippi. You can see these are outflow dominant storms for the most part, so likely not as intense as some of our storms to the south. Now, where there's outflows kind of interact with some of the southern storms, we're getting a little extra juice and convergence here. And some stronger storms, quarter-size hail across Canton and areas in Yazoo and Madison counties in Mississippi. And then strong storms coming into the Jackson metro. Yeah, we're getting those storms now on our Jackson camera. Let's take a look at that. Nothing too punchy. It's not as rocking and rolling like we saw on the cameras earlier, but there is some good gusty winds in here. And yeah, some stronger storms coming up towards the airport as well. $half size hail still being warned south of Hazleton. That one doesn't look quite as punchy as it did earlier. And still just some scattered storms all around Louisiana. Not a lot of severe weather, but any of these could be severe kind of locally and briefly across parts of Louisiana, East Texas, and West Texas now around Uvalde, and now east of there,
New
Bandera.
information. This severe thunderstorm warning has been updated.
So where that camera was earlier that we saw was rocking and rolling. Train spotter in Hinds County reported quarter-size hail and the 70-mile-an-hour wind gust 2 miles west-northwest of Terry. So that checks out. That's what we saw earlier.
A new severe thunderstorm warning has been issued.
And then new warning for half-dollar size hail. There's potentially some pockets of hail in some of these storms in Mississippi along the I-20 corridor. So this is going to be a new severe thunderstorm warning for Rankin, Scott, and Smith counties in Mississippi. That's Pelahatchie, Morton, Forest, those areas in central Mississippi. And then these storms are making a move. They are now well east of Pittsburgh. So Pittsburgh, your severe threat is really diminishing. They'll likely drop more counties from this tornado watch in the next couple minutes, but I just wanted to kind of see what's going on here. But basically, Pittsburgh, Butler, Katanning, Newcastle, Washington, basically calming down. You guys are all good after rocking and rolling this afternoon. And the storms seem to be behaving themselves across the southern tier as well. There's not as many severe warnings up there anymore. This storm is still producing maybe some small hail, a little bit of rotation.
New information. This severe thunderstorm warning has been updated.
Still 1-inch hail being indicated on that cell near Madison and Yazoo counties. Seeing a couple other surges of wind in here. This one near Brockway, another storm near Brockway. I feel like we've called you guys a few times. Severe warning storm coming up that way. And then considerable threat around rain. It's backed off though some. Still is some pretty good wind in here, but that's coming towards Rain and Plumville. And then a nasty cell coming into Greensburg in Pennsylvania, approaching Blairsville and Brush Valley. Northeast at 65. I'd put it into Brush Valley in about 26 minutes. Severe warning storms lifting across the Jackson, Mississippi area.
This severe thunderstorm warning has been updated.
Not as much wind showing up in those.
New information, this severe thunderstorm warning has been updated.
Well, hail reports coming in Finleyville, Pennsylvania at 3:15. 1-inch hail there by a storm chaser.
New information, this severe thunderstorm warning has been updated.
Wind gusts and quarter-size hail for that storm in Madison, Hinds, and Rankin counties. They've also expanded this warning. There is a couple clusters of storms. There's a couple hail cores in here. So they're going to expand that through Homer City, Brush Valley, Indiana, rain, approaching northern Cambria. That's in west central Pennsylvania there. That is for Indiana County in west central Pennsylvania. 60-mile-an-hour winds, quarter-size hail. And then they're also going to warn that area for 60-mile-an-hour winds around Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania. Yeah, pretty gusty winds showing up in there.
A new severe thunderstorm warning has been issued.
This whole cluster of storms has pockets of wind, pockets of hail. It's lifting generally kind of north across the I-20 corridor. Not as organized as it was earlier. It'll probably start to lose some of the intensity as it gets north of I-20. And there's some rain-cooled air up in here. But there are a couple of kind of remnant outflow boundaries.
A new severe thunderstorm
so a little bit of enhanced area. You could get some convergent boundary interactions. But in general, it is looking a little less organized. All right, let's take a look at the HRRR model run, our high resolution rapid refresh model, and I do want to kind of see how things progress here. So I'm still watching this area here into west central Pennsylvania, where it wants to keep some pretty strong storms again until it kind of crests the Appalachians. West central Pennsylvania, still potentially some stronger storms, mostly a wind damage threat, but some embedded circulations not out of the question. Basically, where that current tornado watch kind of ends. It tries to kind of organize some of this into a little bit better of a line. We'll see. Especially across like west central Alabama down to southeast Louisiana. Wants to kind of organize a little bit of a line segment. This is by about 9 o'clock at night, pushing through, and still potentially some pretty heavy rain, especially southeast Mississippi. And then still an ongoing corridor kind of along and just north of I-10 that potentially could see some severe weather into the evening hours. And then down here is interesting. You can see it already kind of initializes decently with a couple hailstorms out here. And it wants to kind of keep those to the southwest sides of San Antonio, towards Hondo, Pearsall, Crystal City. But potentially some more kind of isolated hailstorms riding along and south of San Antonio, along I-37, down towards Laredo. This is later this evening around 7 p.m. Central. So not a ton of coverage. This model particularly only shows about four main cells. So a little more isolated coverage down here in South Texas, but those cells could be supercellular and pretty beefy hailstorm producers. Wants to bring a few more up through Laredo from northern Mexico. And those could go a little later. Those could go, till 10, 11, 12 Central Time. Even one here down towards Fall Furious. Eventually maybe making it to the coast. Yeah, so it wants to give those storms kind of a little bit of a push. Eventually, the ones that are lifting to the north right now, more of a push to the east, and eventually kind of the southeast. So this is as of about midnight on this model run. It shows it kind of along the I-10 corridor from Mobile all the way back towards Lake Charles, and then kind of north from there, Montgomery, back towards Grove Hill, potentially some stronger storms along the Gulf Coast later this evening. And you can see by the evening, the storms on the East Coast are really diminishing as they get into the higher populated areas. It's basically from where they are now to about where that tornado watch kind of ends in central Pennsylvania. And then we could get some random strong storms kind of in between all that. There's a large marginal risk. Not trying to discount, but just kind of focusing in on some of the higher chances of severe weather today. There's a large marginal risk. Everybody from Syracuse down through Harrisburg, the Shenandoah Valley, east or west of Greensboro and Charlotte, North Carolina, across North Georgia, almost all of Alabama, and then all the way to the Gulf Coast. So that Gulf Coast action would come later after dark, especially south and east of I-65 in Alabama. But a couple storms are also firing just in the daytime heating across North Georgia, and seeing a couple stronger storms around Athens, Georgia, for one there around the university. And there are some isolated stronger storms, well, scattered storms, but within that kind of isolated pockets of stronger storms across eastern Texas.
This severe thunderstorm warning has been updated.
In general, these storms are diminishing.
New information.
Here's a little
this
localized
thunderstorm warning has been updated.
interaction. Yeah, now that's a little interesting. right near Madison, this has picked up. There's a little bit of a boundary collision here in the rain near Madison, Mississippi.
New information, this severe thunderstorm warning has been updated.
Really populated area right there. Yeah, we're pretty close to the radar site too. There's actually two little circulations near Madison. There's one by the lake here, going away from the radar, towards the radar, away from the radar, towards the radar. Right where some of these storm boundaries have interacted. Nothing conclusive in here, but a couple areas of weird little rotations to watch. Right here around Madison, Mississippi, and Ridgeland, Mississippi. This is at 51 and the Colony Park. This is right. This camera's right here. So if we see anything, this little area of rotation is drifting basically at Ridgeland High School and I-55. It kind of peaked for a minute. It's a weak little area, but it's a little area spin, and it's decently concentrated. We're close to the radar site. There's another one just to the east of there near Tavern Hill. But we may see an enhanced area of wind right in here. Yeah, we're getting that right now. Look at that. That is wind moving away from the radar. There is a little circulation in here that is pretty nasty. That's wind moving away from the radar. Right, it's right over our camera. I don't see anything that says that's on the ground. There's no debris signature or anything, but that is an enhanced area of a little bit of a little mini vortice in here that close to being tornadic.
New information, this severe thunderstorm.
The other one is over the lake right now. That could be producing a little bit of a water spout on the lake. Wouldn't be totally shocked for that. This is the Pearl River, but the reservoir here. And there's land kind of in here. And land here. So this is all water that this is over right now. This other circulation. There could be a little bit of a water spout situation going on here. So keep an eye on this if you're over here towards Barnes Prairie, North Shore Parkway. And there's the wind direction change on our camera. It's now blowing from from the right side of the camera to the left side. Earlier was basically coming up the highway here. So we've seen there is a circulation in here. And we have not confirmed that's on the ground with the camera, but we've been able to see that it's an area of rotation with the wind field. keep an eye on those little areas there. Yeah, we see that kind of happen in Florida sometimes. They're local boundary collisions, and also looks like another storm collided in here, so it created a brief little situation there where we got two little spins. They backed off just a little bit. The one may have been really close to producing real quick around the Madison area, and this other one could be producing a little bit of a water spout over the areas here just south of Tavern Hill. It's now going to be coming ashore towards Barnes Prairie. So we'll keep an eye on this one. Yeah, right in here, a little bit of a... Oh yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if this produced a quick little tornado, actually. This southern one near the breakers. There does seem to be CC lowering that correlated with that area of rotation. Yeah, I think that produced a tornado real quick. Looking back just a couple scans. We were watching the Madison one. But down there is a little bit of a CC lowering at the breakers and the spillway, and you can see there's a little bit of a notch feature in here.
A new severe thunderstorm warning has been issued.
That was likely an unwarned brief tornado. Yeah, that all lines up. There's the little notch, and there's the correlation coefficient, and there's the velocity scan. All right, still watching this then. This is, could still be producing a little water spout. About to come into areas here east of the reservoir, Barnes Prairie, North Shore Parkway, and areas like Waterwood. Check this other little circulation where we were able to show that there's a, look how different that's changed a little bit. Nothing super conclusive on the reflectivity or the correlation coefficient, but there's still a area of rotation here. And you can also see it maybe a little bit hinting at it in the reflectivity. There's a little weak echo area, indicating there's a little updraft in the precip, because these are both hiding in the rain. Very interesting there. Take a look at our cells in Pittsburgh or in Pennsylvania, east of Punxsutawney now. Strong storms there, east of Rain, approaching northern Cambria, and then now coming through Homer City and Blairsville. And yes, they have dropped now. Pittsburgh, you guys are good to go, all the way down to Waynesburg, Washington, and up through Franklin. Basically, if you're behind these line of storms and behind these severe thunderstorm warnings, you're going to be good to go for the rest of the evening. Let's see, it's 5:22 in the Eastern Time Zone, 4:22 in the Central Time Zone. Couple damage reports coming in out of that Terry area around Hinds County. Multiple trees down across the city of Terry and Byram. It's where we had at least 70-mile-an-hour winds. On radar, it looked like possibly a little higher. That has pushed north and surged north of Jackson. And yeah, I'm not seeing that anymore around that Waterwood area. And also that area around Madison has also brought, and we were able to see a little brief circulation there in Madison with the wind direction change on that camera above me a few minutes ago. But yeah, I think there was at least one, if not two, brief circulations. The Madison one flared up first, but yeah, you can see the other one right here at Country Club Woods. I don't think this Madison one ever produced, at least conclusively on radar. But this one, as it's moving north and east, right by the breakers, I think it did produce right there. See, nothing there on the CC. And right in here it was. And yeah, that correlates really well. Lake Harbor Drive, the breakers, Spillway Road. Kind of a weird little boundary interaction point. And this one actually went to the northeast a little bit and then kind of curved eastward over the lake. And what's left of that circulation is
a new
sliding
severe
to the
thunderstorm
south and east now.
issued.
Very interesting. Yeah, so there is some convergent boundaries along here that could make some localized weird little spins too. So there are a couple areas here that you have to watch for some of those localized, very small,
this severe
brief
thunderstorm
spin-ups.
warning has been updated.
Strong storms coming through west central Pennsylvania right now. Severe thunderstorm warning continues there for the areas around Indiana and Westmoreland counties. 60-mile-an-hour wind gust. No hail threat, really. Also, not seeing a ton of circulations in this anymore. The more concentrated area of severe weather is going to be later tonight across southern parts of Texas. We have one hailstorm right now that is near Bandera, Texas, but the models are still pretty consistent, showing more development down here where there's hasn't been a lot. So we are watching kind of this area, Uvalde, Crystal Springs, down to Laredo and Eagle Pass for development later this evening. And then some strong storms across Louisiana this evening. May get some more later. This is going to try and, I think, localize into, like we saw in the models, a little bit of a boundary that pushes back towards the south.
New information. This severe thunderstorm warning has been updated.
I don't see those areas of circulation anymore, so that is good. Near the Madison area, again, I think we saw it unwarned, or well, warned as far as a severe thunderstorm, but unwarned for tornadoes right near the Madison and the Ross Bennett Reservoir with those 70-mile-an-hour winds south of town.
A new severe thunderstorm warning has been issued.
Okay, they're going to issue a new severe thunderstorm warning for Cambria and Clearfield counties in Pennsylvania. Some small hail, 60-mile-an-hour winds, and yeah, there's little pockets of small hail and also little pockets of wind. So not everybody right now is going to get the severe weather. There's a little pocket here, one here, kind of one right in here. And then the strongest might be this one near northern Cambria. Yeah, and that's verifying on the velocity scans too. So, you know, if you're right there, you may be able to squeeze by without anything. Yeah, not seeing those circulations anymore. You can see them on the radar by Madison when I put this into motion right across this area. Weird little transient rotations that may have briefly produced.
A new
Yeah, we can
severe
check that. Puerto
thunderstorm warning
Rico.
has been issued.
Like some trade winds, showers and storms working through. A bit of batch of rain off the western shore, and then some trade wind showers and storms working across the eastern shore there. So getting into that season where we got to start looking at more of the trade winds. But yeah, let's see. Not a lot of lightning there yet. At least showing up on radar. Not a lot of lightning, just mostly showers right now. And then a little heavier but steadier rain. Not a lot of lightning also showing up on those. Okay, Jackson and National Weather Service Jackson there's kind of cleared out some of the warnings a little bit. So it's a little easier to read, but let's see, what did they do here? I guess some of the warnings just expired. A couple of these warnings continue. This one for another 30 minutes. Jackson, Pearl, Madison, Ridgeland, Brandon, and Canton. And that's going to be for northern Rankin County, Hines County, and southern Madison counties in central Mississippi. 60-mile-an-hour winds, quarter-size hail, little pockets of both. And then the other storm, $half size hail. Yeah, that's east of the Jackson Metro, near Palahatchie and Clarksburg, crossing I-20 right now with some gustier winds coming up towards Morton. This cell is slowly kind of making its way towards the northern and western suburbs of San Antonio, but areas around Lake Hills and the Bourne area, English Crossing, some pretty good hail in there. Some gusty winds, but nothing too bad right now. This is more of a preliminary severe thunderstorm watch for later tonight. And then this tornado watch goes another 2.5 hours, but most of this will get trimmed away, if not the whole thing, as these storms are about to exit that tornado watch area. Yeah, they're saying the same thing, that east of the Allegheny Mountains, it's a little too cool and stable of a boundary. And damaging winds continue across that boundary. The green circles, those are areas that these Weather Prediction Service has highlighted for flash flooding. And I would agree with those areas with the kind of stalled boundary that that's going to provide. and rain for the next couple days in some of those areas. Yeah, definitely turn around, don't drown. Let's cancel all these. And then I want to take a little closer look at those temperatures again. So still 75 at Somerset, 72 at Bedford, 72 at, is it Clearfield? Yeah, Clearfield. But then very quickly, let me zoom in a little bit. State College is only at 59, and then 50 at Lewistown. 67 at Cumberland, Maryland, and 55 at Hagerstown. So yes, once this gets over the Alleghenies and the Appalachians, the severe threat diminishes quite a bit. So you have a little bit left with this kind of warm nose right in here. Right where that severe weather is. Zoom in a little closer. Northern Cambria, Hastings, and then approaching areas around Coalport, areas around Newburgh, and then coming up towards Sylvan Grove. A little bit of rotation right in that cell. So yeah, these storms are maintaining themselves for now while they're in the warm and moist environment, but they're about to get into a lot cooler and a lot less favorable environment. There's a look out of that Ridgeland area at I-20 or I-220, I-55, and the Trace Parkway. Looking back towards the more severe part of that storm. And then back into our areas, starting to clear out around the Pittsburgh, Wheeling areas. Maybe some showers still in eastern Ohio to clear out, but no severe weather back towards Pittsburgh. They've also trimmed some of this watch off. Basically, it's going to be probably mostly in the next little bit, basically along and south of I-20 would be the general area for severe storms still potentially going on. It's going to be along this leading edge. And eventually, it looks like the models might be right. That is going to start to make more of a push to the south and east and eventually sag back towards the Gulf Coast. So across the Jackson area, we've seen the storms mostly moving to the north. They are starting to make a little bit more of an eastward shove. And eventually, this will get eventually down towards the I-10 corridor by overnight tonight. couple stronger storms northwest sides of San Antonio, one with a hail core. The hail and lightning are coming up on this cell a little bit. This would be near the SeaWorld San Antonio area, so keep an eye on that one. We got plans later today. Not a lot of wind showing up in those cells right now, but again, we're watching this area later tonight for some larger hailstorms. And then strong storms, none that are severe right now across northern parts of Alabama. And it appears the tornado threat is diminishing very quickly across parts of West Virginia. This cell has a little bit of rotation in it. I was watching that one earlier. Mostly just a accentuated area of gusty winds, but keeping an eye on that cell in particular. Getting some gusts on the camera out of the 220 corridor, north sides of Jackson. Near Lumber City, New Millport, that area there has a little bit of a concentrated area of severe weather. That would be coming towards Phillipsburg. Keep an eye on these cells. They're coming towards the State College area, and they're getting close to the radar site, so we can get a good look at those. Take a look. Mostly just damaging wind threats, but let's see what they look like when they get across the Alleghenies and the Appalachians here and get closer to State College. And kind of where I would expect the severe reports, especially the south sides of Pittsburgh, towards that Penn Hills and Plum area. They got hammered pretty good earlier. Looking at Penn Hills, Allegheny County, tree and wire down. And then Dormont, wires down. Wouldn't be surprised if we get some more reports of wires and trees down across the, especially southern areas of Pittsburgh. Then earlier with those other severe storms, tree down at Big Beaver, siding off a home, Coppell, tree damage. I think not seeing a lot of tornado damage. I think most of this was damaging wind across the western parts of Pennsylvania. Keep an eye on a couple of these cells near Kerwinsville, Clearfield, Bigler, Beccaria, and approaching the Phillipsburg area here in central Pennsylvania. That might be one of the nastier cells ongoing here, well, especially in Pennsylvania, but this little area right in here has a little bit of rotation very weakly. And that may have the pocket of a little bit of small hail as well. And then this is a big mess. Storms have pushed north of Jackson, while they're also starting to make that eastward shove. So we're going to get some more storms into Jackson from the south and west along I-20 back towards Clinton and Raymond. And then severe warning storms lifting up towards Morton. This is that area. I think we found a very brief, weak spin-up tornado and potential water spout over the reservoir. Yeah, not seeing anything crazy right in here, but there still are some weird boundaries. There's storms that are moving towards the radar this way. There's storms that are still lifting towards the north, northwest. These storms are basically lifting to the northeast, so there's kind of a little weird boundary interactions, almost like Florida, with different boundaries that storms have laid out across here, essentially kind of acting as local focal points for some of these storms. They're going to trim some more of this tornado watch. So Warren, Smethport, I would assume they're going to get rid of most of this in New York State as well. And yeah, really, if you're behind this line of storms, you're pretty much good to go. Yes, they are. They're going to trim all of the New York State counties from Jamestown over towards Belmont, Freedom, and Wellsville. A little bit of rotation right in here near O'Shanter, Pennsylvania. It's coming across the mountains. It's closing in on Phillipsburg, so keeping an eye on this part of the storm. Let's get a time frame for this. This is moving east at 50. So moving east at 50, that puts it into Bigler in about 5 to 8 minutes. Phillipsburg about 10 to 15. And then out towards Snowshoe about 31. A little pocket right in there with some stronger winds on the southern flank of that little area. Kind of see there's a little bit of a weakness there where it's getting some inflow. Very broad, not tornadic, but just it's enhancing some of that localized severe area. Bridgeport, West Virginia, a little bit ago, 41 or 51 mile an hour wind gusts.
New information, this severe thunderstorm warning has been updated.
They've updated it to ping pong ball sized hail around Morton. Yeah, there's the pocket of hail showing up. That's lifting to the northeast, so north of Morton. That would put it into Lana, Mississippi in about 25 minutes, and then Walnut Grove, Mississippi in about 30. And that's ping pong ball sized hail. It is lifting away from Jackson, away from Brandon and the Jackson Metro. Like earlier, trees down in Madison County. Very interested to see if there's any damage reports from where that little localized spin up may have occurred. The wind is also picking up with that severe warning cell where the ping pong ball sized hail is located just passing the Morton area. See if there's any other indications from the National Weather Service on things. We saw it earlier, if anyone's new on the chat. Earlier, the National Weather Service out of northern Indiana did find at least 150 mile an hour EF3 winds, making it kind of a medium high-ish EF3 for the tornado that struck in Michigan yesterday. And I wouldn't be surprised if they find even higher wind damage indicators. That was just on a area that they found, and they said it wasn't even, they didn't even do the path length yet. It was so short of an area that they were looking at in the survey. Yeah, I don't see anything else, at least new for now. A little bit of rotation right in there. That same part of the storm we've been watching for a little bit. Okay, let's check our friends down in Mississippi. Ping pong ball size hail coming towards Lena and Walnut Grove. You guys aren't in the warning polygon yet, but I'm guessing they're going to probably extend it out up towards the north. There's the hail core right in here. It's a nasty cell lifting to the northeast. Couple storms still severe and strong in that San Antonio area. They are going to trim off a ton of this tornado watch. Tionesta, Clarion, Brookville, Katanning, Indiana, Greensburg, Uniontown, Morgantown, Fairmount, Kingswood, and I'm sure Clarksburg. They're not just going to leave you on an island. So that's a big chunk of that tornado watch done for the day. You guys are safe. Good to go. Have a great rest of your weekend. That's kind of calmed down a little bit too. I think we're going to head out with that tornado watch being mostly canceled. Still a couple severe storms in Pennsylvania this evening. Most of that should continue to diminish by the time it gets to the crest of the Alleghenies. Not a threat for severe weather across eastern Pennsylvania and even southeast Pennsylvania. It's too cool and quiet there. Wow, look at that. That just picked up a little bit. Our camera started shaking and heavy rain is moving back into that camera in Madison and the Jackson area. Let's just check that real quick. Ping pong ball size hail. Could get some isolated hail in these areas. Yeah, there's some more, another shower and storm kind of moving into that area. But ping pong ball size hail pushing away from the Morton area up towards Walnut Grove. Could get some isolated hail, isolated severe winds out of this. And we'll see what happens later. If this does kind of form into a more organized system that pushes towards the Gulf Coast, we'll keep an eye on it. And then watching late night threat for major or larger hail across southwest parts of Texas. And a lot of this could be after dark. So have ways to get warnings out here. We'll keep an eye on it too. If it stays more than isolated, we can always have another another live stream. We're not just limited to once a day. Yeah, I'm looking at this. This is what the models indicated earlier. Some hailstorms kind of moving up across Laredo and into this watch area. So watching for maybe some more storm development to move into the watch area from northern Mexico. They are going to extend that $half size hail up through Carthage, Walnut Grove, and Lena. 60-mile-an-hour winds, 30 miles an hour. So 18 minutes to Lena, 25 to Walnut Grove, and about 38 to Carthage. That's Rankin, Scott, and Smith counties in Mississippi.
A new severe thunderstorm warning has been issued.
And also Leake and Scott counties. That was an old warning. That was Rankin, Scott, and Smith is updated. Just more storms. That may expire in about 7 minutes. We'll see. Don't know if there's severe weather in here anymore. But this one up here is Scott and Leake counties in Mississippi. So severe thunderstorm watch continues there. Another 5 hours.
Severe thunderstorm warning has been updated.
And that does continue after dark, especially along and south of I-20, but especially along the I-20 corridor right now. That's where most of the severe weather is, central Mississippi. And some of that may work its way up towards the Columbus and Starkville areas. But especially once it starts to move, it's going to push a little bit more towards the south. So Hattiesburg, Laurel, Meridian, not much severe weather there today. You may get into it later this afternoon and especially into the evening and overnight hours. And I would guess they'll probably cancel most of this watch area since these storms are about on the leading edge of the tornado watch. I don't think they're going to continue that to the east. May get some isolated severe weather to the east in the form of damaging winds. Potentially still a quick spin up, but I don't see anything. There's nothing really showing up as we're closing in on the radar here. Pretty much a pretty straight, flat front. There's not a lot of little eddies in here. So you may get a quick spin up, but I don't think there's anything too concerning in there. This still has a little potential in that area near Phillipsburg. But yeah, things are behaving themselves up there in Pennsylvania right now. So we're going to wrap up the stream. And again, if it gets crazy, we can always pop back on. But I don't anticipate anything like we've had the last couple days. I do want to note, though, that we do have a couple other severe weather chances coming up. Tomorrow, that whole boundary kind of stays along the I-20 corridor. So isolated chances of severe weather, but the more concentrated area is going to be a marginal risk out in the Carolinas tomorrow. And then Monday, that boundary still kind of stays in there. I-20 to I-40 is where we may have a marginal chance of severe weather. But by Tuesday, we get another system ejecting from the Rockies. This one looks like kind of one of those trough ejections. System develops, low pressure forms, it rides up through the Midwest and a trailing boundary. So this one looks like it could be a pretty beefy severe weather setup. We'll get better data on it the next couple of days. We'll get a better analysis of it. But just be aware of this potential right now. No action plans needed, but just be aware of it. And that's anywhere from the southern Great Lakes, the lower Ohio Valley, across the Ozarks, into the southern plains. And not done there yet. Day 5, all the way from where we've had some severe weather today in the upper Ohio Valley, down through basically the Ohio and Tennessee valleys and into the south and the lower Mississippi Valley. Again, day 5, that would be for Wednesday. And beyond there, it gets a little fuzzy, so I don't believe there's anything added for days 6 through 8. But still an active period. We're continuing kind of an active and spring-like pattern to start the month of March. And it looks like it will continue for at least the next short term. May get a little bit of a pattern reversal in the middle of March. And we'll likely have a forecast video that comes out in Monday, Tuesday kind of time frame that explains the next kind of pattern switch and what the pattern shows for the middle of the month as and it's already the 7th, so the next kind of 7 to 10 days we'll get a video out for that after we get through this really active period of severe weather. So I think I put it in the post this morning. Live stream,
this severe thunderstorm
likely not tomorrow, very likely not Monday either, but also likely on Tuesday and Wednesday. So click that bell icon, get notifications when we go live, when we post forecast videos, and then also check out our morning posts, a written version in the mornings, and then follow us WeatherCast Live on X and Facebook. There's the tag for it, WxCast Live. And even when we're not live streaming, we'll typically post some updates, especially on the X. It's pretty quick. So if there's any random isolated tornado warnings and stuff, follow on X, because that's where a lot of the quick weather briefs and stuff occur, as well as reposting National Weather Service survey data that we'll get more information on as some of the tornadoes from the last couple days get surveyed. But yeah, winding down a little bit, have multiple ways to get weather warnings. Make sure you know when the radio's on. Make sure your phone alerts are on. And then also it is the spring time change. So make sure you set your clocks accordingly. It is daylight savings time. Starts at 2 a.m. Sunday. So most people, I think, set your clocks before bed. And that'll take care of that. Yeah, still wind and hail coming up towards $half-sized Carthage, Walnut Grove. Let me just see. I'll wait a minute here and see if they extend this warning or if they keep it closed out here for the Jackson area. It's due to expire in 1 minute at 5 o'clock Central, 6 o'clock Eastern. Also, there's no warnings yet for it, but I wouldn't be surprised if we get some flash flood warnings across this Jackson and central Mississippi area. Storms have not moved here much the last couple hours. And also watch out for even flash flooding across north central Mississippi, where there's been a decent amount of heavy rain. There they go. They looks like they closed out that warning for the Jackson area, so that will end it on a slow note with like only 3 warnings in the U.S. Eastern Clearfield, Medina, Bandera, Kendall, Bexar counties, and then Eastern Leake County in central Mississippi. Have a great evening, everyone, and a great rest of your weekend.